Every success story is also a story of great failures. It is said that failure is the highway to success. That means when you fail, it will make you go faster as you can go on a highway as faster as you could. So failure is a highway to success. Tom Watson Sr. said, if you want to succeed, double your failure rate. When you want to succeed in your life, don't bother about your failures. Do fail as many a time as you fail, and that means you are going to succeed in your life. If you study history, you will find that all stories of success are also stories of great failures. But people don't see the failures. They only see one side of the picture and they say, that person, who is that person? The one who got success. They call him, he got lucky. And they say, he must have been at the right place at the right time. Don't bother about the people who say something about you, about your failures, about your success. They always say something about others and they stay there themselves and they never go up. And after your success, you can see them, they are again complaining or commenting on others. Let us go into the history and find whether this statement is right or wrong. For instance, let me share someone's life history with you. This was a man who failed in business at the age of 21, and he was defeated in a legislative race at age 22. When he was 22 years old, he competed in elections for legislative race and he was defeated by others. And again, he failed in the business at the age 24. And it is very difficult to come out the death of his sweetheart when he was 26 years old. And he had a nervous breakdown too when he was 27 years old. Again, when he was 34, he contested in a congressional race and he lost it. One more time, when he was 45 years old, he contested in the senatorial race and then too he lost it. And he was 47, wanted to become the vice president of US and failed. When he was 49, again contested in an election for Senate, and in this senatorial race he was defeated when he was 49. And finally, when he was 52 years old, he was elected President of the United States of America. Now it is a history in United States of America, the history of Abraham Lincoln. And this is the history of Abraham Lincoln. He failed all the way to become the President of United States of America. Finally, he achieved the goal when he was 52 years old. By going through his history, it is clear that the success story of Abraham Lincoln is also a story of great failures. He failed many a time in his life. Now and then he was succeeded, but finally, ultimately, he had elected the President of United States of America when he was 52 years. He started racing the life by the age 20 or 19, but ultimately he reached the seat of the president by the age 52 years. Can we call him a failure? No. If he could think so, he was a failure. He could not have been the president of United States. And the motto of the Lincoln, defeat was a detour and not a dead end. Here detour is taking another path, taking the diversion on your way. When you are going on a way, you get a block or a hurdle, obstacle. What do? You take diversion. And in a similar manner, the hurdles, the problems or something else are just make you take a pause. not there to stop you permanently. If you stopped there, your will is not strong enough to get your success. So, to Abraham Lincoln, defeat was a detour, not a dead end. When you are defeated, take diversion and get win in the race. And let us find another history of a person who is Lee D. Forrest. Lee D. Forrest is the inventor of Triodes tube. In 1913, he was charged by the district attorney for using fraudulent means to mislead the public into buying stocks of his company by claiming that he could transmit the human voice across the Atlantic. He was publicly humiliated. In 1913, when there was no telegraphic conversation, no phones in the world, and at that moment, they're just talking through cards or wired telephone conversations are possible. And it may not be possible there when in 1913 talk through the wires or wireless across the Atlantic, but Lady Forrest invented something and had confidence enough to make it possible, and he told the people that he wanted to transmit the human voice across the Atlantic. But somehow some of the people did not believe him and complained to the court. The attorney punished him and the people humiliated him. But he was the inventor of the Triodes tube. Can you imagine where we would be without his invention? And here is another story, which is a history. The Wright brothers, who invented the machine heavier than the air and that could fly in the air. But before 1903, the invention of flight, people could not believe that the heavier things can fly in the air. And they are working on that machine, and this news spread throughout the country. The New York Times newspaper editorial on December 10, 1903 questioned the wisdom of the Wright brothers. But what happened? A week later of the questioning of New York Times editorial, just a week later at Kitty Hawk, the place where the first flight had taken off, Kitty Hawk, the Wright brothers took their famous flight. This is the history. But even the newspaper editorial humiliated them, but they could not think about their failures. They keep on trying for success, and finally, ultimately, they succeeded. And today, how airways are developing throughout the world. And here is another story about Colonel Sanders. You know who is Colonel Sanders? He is the founder of KFC. You might have known the food or restaurants served by KFC. When Colonel Sanders was 65 years old, with a beat up car, with a damaged car, and $100 check, he realized that he had to do something. His age was 65, but he decided to do something, and that is the attitude. He just remembered his mother's recipe. What is recipe? The way of cooking different types of food. So he remembered his mother's recipe. He started selling it. Can you guess how many doors did he have to knock on before he got his first order? 5, 10, 100, 200, 300. It is estimated that he had knocked on more than 1,000 doors before he got his first order. How many of us quit after 3 tries, 10 tries, 100 tries? And finally we say, we are tired and we tried as hard as we could, and we exit. But to Colonel Sanders, it is not the simple thing to get success. He tried more than 1,000 times to get his very first order. And that is the attitude one must possess to get success. And here is another historical story about Walt Disney. As a young cartoonist, Walt Disney faced many rejections from newspaper editors who said he had no talent. He was not perturbed. He was not confused. He was not unhappy. He was not tempted, but tried as much as he could. One day, a minister at a church hired him to draw some cartoons. Walt Disney was walking out of a small mouse infested shed near the church. After seeing a small mouse infesting the shed here and there, he was inspired by it. And that was the starting point of Mickey Mouse. And pretty well nowadays the animation movies are getting more importance and prominence in the children world. And that is the starting point of animated movies of Walt Disney in the world. People don't do great things. They only do small things in a great way. And everyone could not do great things. But whichever we do, that must be in a great way. Whether it may be a small thing, but we have to do it in a great way. And let us think of another great historical personality, Thomas Edison. When he was a 4 years old kid, he came to home with a note in his pocket from his teacher. The note reads that your Tommy is too stupid to learn. Get him out of the school. His mother read the note and answered it because she had the great attitude that was possessed to Thomas Edison as well. My Tommy is not stupid to learn. I will teach him myself. And this was the note which is sent to the teacher by Thomas Edison's mother. And she taught him. And that Tommy grew up to the great Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison had only 3 months of formal schooling and he was partially deaf. But you know what he had done to the world. He failed approximately 10,000 times when he was working on the light bulb, but ultimately he achieved it. When Thomas was 67 years old, lost his factory, which was worth a few $1 million, on fire. It had very little insurance, but he was 67 years old. Edison watched his lifetime effort go up in smoke and said, there is great value in disaster. All our mistakes are burnt up. Thank God we can start anew. In spite of the disaster, 3 weeks later, he invented the phonograph. What an attitude. If the common man or other, when his something is burnt up, he is thinking of that for few days or months. But he is no time when it is burnt up. He said that there is great value in disaster, and that disaster burnt up all our mistakes, and we can start anew. We can start again. We can start fresh. And that is the attitude of Edison. Thus, there are many stories of failures who became the successful personalities in the world. And now let us see the success definition by Socrates. A motivation to succeed comes from the burning desire to achieve a purpose. A young man asked Socrates the secret to success. And you know who is Socrates? Socrates is a great philosopher and educationalist, and one of the young men from his country, to his curious, asked him, what is the secret to success? Socrates told the young man to meet him near the river the next morning. They met at the river in the morning. Socrates asked the young man to walk with him towards the river. When the water got up to their neck, Socrates took the young man by surprise and ducked him into the water. The boy struggled to get out, but Socrates was strong and kept him there until the boy started turning blue. Socrates pulled his head out of the water, and the first thing the young man did was to gasp and take a deep breath of air. Then Socrates asked him, what did you want the most when you were there? The boy replied, air. Socrates said, that is the secret to success. When you want success as badly as you wanted the air, then you will get it. There is no other secret. A burning desire is the starting point of all accomplishments, just like a small fire cannot give much heat. A weak desire cannot produce great results. You have a desire, but it's weak. How could you produce great results? When your desire is as strong as the fire, you can produce much greater results. When your desire is as strong as you wish for the air, then your result will be a great success. And keep it in mind that setbacks are inevitable in life. You could not avoid the setbacks in your life. And each time, a setback can act as a driving force and also teach us humility. When you are in grief, you will find courage, faith to overcome the setback. We need to learn to become victors, not the victims. Fear and doubt shortcut the mind. So be courageous, be strong enough to get success, but don't doubt on yourself. If you doubt on yourself, it shortcut your mind and it could not produce anything. To become a victor, don't have any doubt and believe in setbacks. They are inevitable. You have to face them and have a strong desire as well. So with these stories of historical persons, we could find that every success story is also a story of great failure. They could not become the great personalities then and there immediately. They have struggled all their lives and they succeeded. And children, have great courage and have great desires to achieve your life goals. Have a nice day.